Good evening, everyone. Welcome to today's session, GRE 2021, All You Need to Know. Today, we will look at the importance of GRE in the admissions and scholarship process, and later we'll look at understanding the exam better. Let us get started. My name is Vikram, and I'm a part of the admissions team here at Manya. I'm going to talk to you about the acceptance of GRE both in the admissions and scholarship process for a few minutes. After that, I'm going to hand over to my colleague, Ms. Priya, who will take you through the intricacies of the examination so that you understand it better. So we've just discussed the agenda. Let's move on to the first part, which is the acceptance of GRE. GRE is a key component of your graduate school application. By that, we mean applications to both master's and PhD programs. It is the world's most widely accepted graduate level entrance examination. It is required for admission into master's and PhD programs, not only in science, technology, engineering, and mathematics programs, but also the social sciences. Business schools now accept GRE for MBA and master's in business programs. This makes accessibility, this makes access into business schools a lot more possible because earlier GRE was not accepted by business schools, but now since GRE is accepted, it makes it easy for people who have taken the exam or are planning to take the exam to consider a range of options when it comes to studying at the graduate level. So if you have any questions or you want to know more about which MBA programs and which Masters in Business programs accept the GRE, you can look at the website. You can look at the GRE test website. Further, you can filter business schools by different countries, and this will provide you an overview of which institutions in that particular country accept the GRE. Here we have filtered Singapore on the GRE website, and pretty much all the top institutions that require this exam for the MBA program are showing here. In a similar way, you can check for each institution country-wise, depending on where you want to do your management program from. So let's look at how GRE helps you stand out as an applicant. GRE is a standardized test score, and this provides applicants a common language to resonate not only with the admissions officers at graduate school, but also with academicians at the department. When you apply for your master's or PhD program, you not only apply to the graduate school, but you also apply to the department. In fact, the graduate school will be happy if your GRE score is above or equal to the average score which that particular institution requires. However, the department might actually want a higher score if you're applying for a competitive program such as computer science. So from that point of view, GRE provides you a common measure for both the graduate school as well as the department to assess your application. Further, GRE is an international benchmark of your academic ability. A balanced GRE score adds credibility to you as an applicant as it is providing a trust factor that establishes you as an authentic applicant. Universities have different average score and upper lower level score ranges, and this is something to keep in mind when you start researching universities. However, there is a big range of universities out there, so no matter what your score is, you should be able to find an institution to pursue your master's or PhD at. Now, one critical area where the GRE adds tremendous value to your application is that it can compensate for a low college time GPA. Let's say you're a college student, you're applying in your final year. Your first year, for whatever reason, did not go well, but your academic performance gradually improved after that. This, however, means that your overall or cumulative GPA might be slightly impacted. However, to show the recruiting university that you're a hardworking student, if you actually get a good GRE score, it shows that whatever challenges you faced in the first year as a college student are now behind you. And not only has your GPA improved over a period of time, but your GRE score, a good GRE score, shows that you're really serious about your education and you're doing well as a student now. Okay, so apart from this, high GRE scores, along with exceptional academic and extracurricular profiles, are required for admission to top universities because high incoming scores, so top universities actually look at GRE from 2 points of view. One, if you have high scores, it shows that you are a worthy applicant. You're a hardworking, sincere, academically motivated student, which is exactly what they want to see. Over and above that, if you have a high score, a competitive institution or a top ranked university would be more than happy to recruit you as a student because you bring their overall GRE average up or at least maintain their GRE average, which makes a great impression to future students, which helps the university move up in ranking tables and league tables and continue to maintain its reputation in the minds of highly meritorious future applicants. Further, your GRE score can help you shortlist the correct set of universities to apply to because, as we said, it's a standardized score and an international benchmark of your academic ability. So, you know, if you have a 325, what are the types of universities out there who are looking for students with an average score of, say, 325? And therefore, it is a starting point, a very good starting point to find a university, an appropriate university to study at, or to shortlist a range of universities. Besides the admissions piece, GRE scores add tremendous value to scholarship applications. Further, for some industries, when it comes to internships, let's say you're a graduate student at a particular university, you want to go for an internship or you want to apply for a job afterwards, let's say you're studying business. Then there are certain industries such as investment banking that look at GRE, your GRE or your GMAT score or any standardized test score that you have while recruiting candidates for jobs because, as we said, the example of investment banking, this is a highly quantitative field. GRE is a highly quantitative exam, and it shows that you have the requisite skills and ability to succeed which that particular industry requires. Let's now look at the different types of scholarships available at universities, at graduate schools, and how the GRE let's look at the relationship between GRE and scholarships. So broadly speaking, there are four types of scholarship or financial assistance which are available at top universities. These are teaching assistantships, research assistantships, graduate assistantships, and fee discounts, which typically tend to be merit based. Now, academic excellence is the basis of selection for scholarships or financial assistances, whether you receive a full award or a partial award. And here, GRE is a way to show your academic excellence and your merit. A balanced and competitive GRE score improves your likelihood of obtaining a scholarship or financial assistance. A good GRE score can provide admission to a fully funded PhD program. Further, the GRE is valid for a certain number of years, and most universities accept its validity at the accepted standard of 5 years. So let's say you've gone for your master's program, your GRE score is still valid, and you decide to do an MBA or you decide to get into a PhD. A valid GRE score can then facilitate your admission from master's into PhD or maybe MBA straight away. You don't have to take it again. In exceptional cases, a high GRE score, when matched with an exceptional undergraduate bachelor's degree academic performance, can actually facilitate direct admission into a funded PhD program. Now, we said that there are typically four types of scholarships that universities offer, and all of these look at your GRE score as an indicator of your merit. Further, when it comes to teaching assistantships, where you will be helping professors in teaching undergraduates, a lot of professors want to hire students with high GRE scores, especially in the verbal section, because they are then assured that you have the skills required to teach. Okay, we at Manya, now let's look at the 4 C's of the admissions process and how the GRE score impacts these. So we at Manya typically tend to look at admissions as choosing where to apply as a function of the country, course, cost, and college, the 4 C's. The GRE score makes you eligible to apply to US and to competitive institutions in many other countries. So it actually helps you to select US as a country to apply to. Secondly, as far as the course is concerned, taking the GRE helps you qualify for a host of competitive programs at top universities. As far as cost is concerned, a good GRE score can facilitate merit-based scholarship as we just discussed. And finally, a good GRE score can make you a successful applicant at a dream university or college of your choice. So here we've just put up some information about popular programs where GRE is definitely required. You can see this is across the entire spectrum of technical and business programs. In addition to this, there are social sciences, architecture. Practically every graduate school program looks favorably at a high GRE score when evaluating your profile for admission as well as scholarship. So these are just some recent success stories. These are the details of Manya students who have got admission into the world's top universities on the basis of their GRE score, apart from the rest of their applications. So Rashmi has got scholarship at Syracuse, apart from being admitted at USC and Purdue main campus for the most competitive program out there, possibly the Masters in Computer Science. Her GRE is 326. Daman's GRE is 324. He's got into Carnegie Mellon for a highly sought after research based mechanical engineering masters. Chandan has got into Columbia and USC with a 324 again for the highly competitive masters in computer science. Mayank with 326 has got into MIS at a broad range of universities, including Texas Austin, Maryland College Park, Washington Seattle, and CMU or Carnegie Mellon. Ruchir with a 331 GRE score has gotten into the Masters in Financial Engineering this intake for NYU, Washington Seattle, as well as the highly coveted California Berkeley. Roshan with 322 has got into the Masters in Robotics at NYU, and then with slightly With Saurabh has got into the Masters in Data Science at NYU, a highly specialized Masters, a highly specialized variant of the Masters in Computer Science with 324. Vasuki has got into Texas Dallas with 316, again for the Masters in Data Science. Shri Deepthi has got into Missouri, Columbia with a 326 with scholarship. Subeksha with 321 has got into the Masters in Molecular and Cell Biology at Purdue main campus. Ruchita has got into Environmental Engineering at UIUC. It's one of its most sought after master's programs with 321. And Shivangi has got into a diverse range of programs across the Netherlands, Sweden, and even the US, which we haven't mentioned here, with a 321. And then when we look at the admissions timeline, while your applications will be worked on and submitted later this year, I'll just conclude this part of the presentation by telling you that this is the right and the best time frame to prepare for the GRE because we are still at the start of the admission season. And just in case your actual score isn't what you hoped it to be, you can take multiple attempts because you still have time till you reach September, October, and later in the admission cycle when your applications need to be submitted. With this, I'll hand over to Priya, who is a master trainer with us, to talk to you in greater detail about the intricacies of the GRE exam so that you understand it better. Thank you.
Hello all. Welcome to the second part of the presentation. Thanks Vikram, and I am Priya Narayanan. I am a verbal master trainer and I have been with Manya for the past 7 years. And I can see that a lot of you have queries regarding the session. So I would like to bring to your notice that the last few minutes are meant for question and answers, right? So please keep your queries ready there, right? Okay, so let us look at today's agenda. So we're going to talk about home testing, right? Something which is new, and the exam dates for GRE, the syllabus and pattern that gets tested on the GRE, and a few tips to score a 320 plus. I hope my screen is visible, people. Yes? Okay. So what is new about this GRE 2021, right? Anybody? I can see that a lot of you are here, right? Let us make this session a bit more interactive. So I would like you to put across your comments in the chat box, right? So what is so special about this GRE 2021? So till March of 2020, very good, Pranav, thank you. Yeah, so till March of 2020, people were taking the test from the centers, okay? Then slowly this pandemic came in. So the first thing was like people started learning from home for the test, right? And now we have gone a step ahead from April 2020 where we are taking the test from home, right? I know that some of you might be interested in taking the test from home. So let us look at a few features that will help you decide where to take the test from, right? So one important thing about this taking the test from home is that it is safe, right? And it's convenient, right? You have been sitting at home and you have been preparing for the test and you are going to take the test from home. Isn't it pretty comfortable? Right. Okay. The next thing is this test is offered across the world, wherever GRE is available, right? As in the centers, except for mainland China and Iran, right? So in all the other places, we do have the GRE home test happening, right? Now, you can take it using your own computer. Only thing is your test is going to be proctored by a human proctor online, right? So in the centers, you have proctors who will look into your performance, but here you're going to have an online proctoring, right? Through this app, Proctor You. Another important thing is this test is available 24/7. You want to take it on any day, any time, it is available. And you can register for the test even 24 hours before the test time, right? Say, I want to take it tomorrow night. I can get register for it now. Okay. Now, so these are the requirements that you will need to take the test. Okay. The first thing is equipment requirements. Remember, when you're taking it in the center, you don't have to worry about anything. You just go there. They have the system ready. You just have to go and sit and take the test there, right? But here, you need to have your own system, a desktop or a laptop computer, of course, with internet connectivity, right? You need to have a camera because the proctor would like to have a 360-degree view of your room. Yes. And you will also need a microphone and a speaker, all right? That comes along with the system or a separate one, okay? But if you plan to take the test with handheld devices, say like a tablet or mobile phone, it is certainly not allowed, okay? And you are not allowed to use a headphone or you are not allowed to use any headsets there while taking the test, okay? Second thing is, in what browser can you take the test? Is it Google Chrome or will Firefox work? So there again, ETS is very specific. They have their own ETS browser, right? So even before you plan to register for the GRE home test, you have to download this ETS browser and check if it is compatible with your system, right? Only if it runs in your system, it makes sense to register for the test, okay? Now, the most important thing is note making. How many of you have actually started preparing for the GRE? How many of you here have started preparing? Can I have some answers? Yeah, Jnanaraj has. Others? So one integral part of taking the GRE is like you have a notebook with you, right? And a pen or a pencil, right? Where you scribble, you make notes when you're working. Agreed? At least for the math, you people do it. Am I right? Okay. But on the, when you're taking the GRE home test, you will not be allowed to use the so-called scratch paper. Okay, you will not be provided with a bunch of papers and pencils to work upon. Rather, you need to have a handheld whiteboard. Okay, so people who are using this mark and move, as in, you are skipping a question and you want to come back to it within a section, you need to be careful about doing that because you may not be able to have a lot of information on the whiteboard, right? So that is another thing which you have to look into. You can either use a whiteboard or a transparent sheet, and that should be accompanied by an erasable marker. Okay, at the end of the test, you have to show the proctor that your sheet is clear. Okay. If you are using whiteboard, Ramya, then that's good. Okay, but yes, Ramya, you can buy it from a stationery shop, a handheld whiteboard with the regular markers. Okay, erasable markers. Now, where can I take the test? You have to be alone in a room when you're taking the test. Again, like I told you, your proctor will be able to view the Ramya, please keep your question ready. I'll answer it in the end. Okay. So your proctor will be able to view the room, right? And you're not allowed to take the test out in any outside scenario, like you cannot sit in a restaurant or you cannot relax in the internet center or parks and take the test. Okay, so it should be within a room. And tabletop and seating, you can place your desktop or laptop on a desk. Okay, and you can use a regular chair. You cannot lie down on a sofa and take the test. Remember that. Okay. And coming back to dressing, appropriate clothing, right? And another thing is your ears should be visible, right? It's not like you're using a Bluetooth speaker or something like this. So your ears should be visible. Okay, and like the regular GRE, you're not allowed to use jewelry or ties or headbands. Okay, so I have given the link here. Right, this is a TS web page where you can look into detail about the requirements for home test. Right. Now, what decides your test date? When will you take the GRE? Vikram has in detail given you, schedule as when to apply and when to take. Am I right? So what are the factors that decide when do you take the GRE? Okay. So the university requirements, am I right? So when you take the GRE, right, you will get the official score report after, say, 15 days. Okay. And it's only the official score report that you can share with the universities. Right. Of course, you have an option of sending the scores to 4 universities when you take the test. But other than that, if you want to apply for the other universities, you need to have the official report. Okay. And this official report has to be sent to the university, and the university will take some time to analyze your scores, right? So you need to have that window. You should give them that window to work with, right? So that is one main deciding factor is when you will take the GRE. What is the second factor? Can someone tell me? How ready am I to take the test? Isn't it? Yes or no? I should be ready. Am I right? Okay. So there is one more thing which you have to look into, the availability of the centers, right, to take the test. Now, if you are taking the GRE test at home, so what is the advantage here? What did I tell you? This is the advantage. You can take it at any time, right? 24/7, right? And the test appointments are available as soon as 24 hours after you register. Okay, yes, the preference there. Very good. Okay, so, but if you're taking at the centers, again, during this peak time, they may have some additional centers opening, testing locations opening, right? But normally they have like one center per city, right? So you have to take the test in the prometric test centers. Again, the thing there is your appointments happen on first come and first served basis. And I have to warn you about this. Right from July till September, there will be a mad rush to take the GRE, right? So you have to really, decide on your test dates and you have to start applying for them. Okay. How do you register for the test? You can register using the ETS account. One thing about the GRE home testing is you will have to first register for the test. You will get an email and there will be a link provided in it, and you have to use the link to select your test dates. But if you're taking it in center, you can just register, pick up the test center, test timing and date, and you'll be done with the registration. Okay, so it takes a little more time with the GRE home testing. Now, how many times can you take the GRE? Say if you want to repeat your test, you need to wait for at least 21 days to take up the next test. Okay, even if you have cancelled your scores, right? You may have taken the test and might have cancelled the scores then. still you have to wait for 21 days to take up the test. Okay. And within a period of 1 year, say 12 rolling months, you can take the test 5 times. So that is just data. Nobody would want to take it, isn't it? Nobody would want to take the GRE 5 times. Okay. And plan to get the scores in your first attempt. If not, go for a second attempt, right? Anything more than that could be a little overwhelming. Okay. And when I get the scores, the verbal and the quant scores, the unofficial scores will be available on the spot. Okay, the AWA score alone, you will get it after 2 weeks along with your official score. Yes. Now, let us come to the test. Now, if you look at GRE, there are actually 3 sections to the test. The first one is your AWA section. Okay, so in this section, you have to write 2 essays. Okay, one is an issue essay, the other one is an argument-based essay. So what do these essays test you on? Your critical thinking, your writing skills. Yes, how well you can, develop an argument, or how well you can evaluate an argument. How can you, reach a complex idea, right? These are the things that get tested in your analytical writing skills. Okay. Now, coming to the verbal section, verbal section is more about your reading and vocab skills, right? So here they may give you a passage, a paragraph, or sometimes a sentence, and how well you can analyze the sentence, how well you can summarize the content, okay, and how well you can relate, parts of a sentence to another part, how well you can identify the relationship between 2 words, right? These are the things which get tested in the verbal section, and the question types here can be broadly classified as the reading comprehension. Okay, so this reading comprehension makes up 50% of your questions. Okay, and then you have the text completion and sentence equivalence. So these are the questions which will test your vocabulary skills. Okay, and they make up the remaining 50% of the test. Okay. And then you have the math section. So math is all about your high school mathematics, algebra, arithmetic, geometry, data analysis. And here the questions can either be from real life scenarios, or they can be a mathematical setup, right? And so do you think it's easy to get a 170 on the math then? Because it's all about your majorly about your 8th and 10th grade mathematics. Yes, can do everyone get 170 on the math? Ramya says a big yes. What about others? If you do it carefully, absolutely, because the questions here, right, the way they frame the questions is tricky, right? So you have the multiple choice questions with one or more than one answers. You have numeric entry questions, and you have quantitative comparison questions, right? These are the different question types you can see on the math section. Okay. So any doubts about the different sections? Okay, so this is how your test is. Nearly 4 hours test with breaks in between, of course, right? So let us see what are the different sections. The test always starts with the AWA section, the writing section. 2 essays, like I had earlier mentioned, and every essay is for 30 minutes. Okay, so you get a separate score for this section, a 0 to 6, right? 0 being the minimum. You get separate scores on the section. And you will see 2 verbal sections. So every verbal section will have 20 questions, and it will be for 30 minutes. Okay, so Both these verbal sections together contribute towards your verbal score that ranges between a 130 to 170. Okay. The same for math section, except that you have here every section is for 35 minutes. Okay. So why 2 sections? Because this test is section adaptive. How you perform in the first section decides the difficulty level of the second section, right? You do it really well, the second section is going to be hard. Okay, so if your second section is hard, then your chances of getting a higher score is more. Okay, so that is how it works. More the difficulty level, more the number of questions you get correct, higher the score. Yes, Praveendra, you're allowed. Okay. The same happens with the quant sections too, right? Depending on how you perform in the first section, the second section could be easy, medium, or hard. Okay. Other than that, you will have a research or an experimental section. Now, the research section is identifiable. They'll tell you this is a research section, and your performance will not contribute towards your final score. Okay. So this is only for the ETS research purposes. Okay. But you may have experimental questions which are used to decide the difficulty level of a question. Okay. So if it's a research section, you will know which one it is. But if it's an experimental section, you will not know which one is an experimental section. So on the test, you may see 3 verbal, 2 math, or 3 math and 2 verbal. Okay. So at the end of the day, you'll realize, okay, I probably had a experimental section that was verbal, right? Because I saw 3 verbal sections that way. Okay. You will not be able to identify the experimental sections, and there is no fixed order. Only the AWA is the first section. Post that, these sections can appear in any possible order. Okay. So does it tell you how the test works, people? Good. Now, how to improve your verbal score? So I think most of you here will find verbal to be slightly on the difficult side than math. Agreed? So what makes it difficult? Yeah? Vocabulary. Okay. Everything is difficult, is it, Sri Ramya? Sentence equivalence especially. Okay. So the first thing is we have to know how every question type works. Pranav agreed we are non-natives, maybe our language skills are not that great. Totally agreed, but this is something which with right practice you should be able to tackle, right? We have people who score 170 on the verbal, so aren't they non-natives? Right? So aim, say if you're looking for a 320 plus, don't expect your 170 to come on the math and a 150 from verbal. Don't try to reach your 320 that way. Okay, try to balance it out. Expect say 160 plus on the math and at least a 160 on the verbal. That is what you should be aiming at. Okay. Try to get your scores from both the sections. Remember that. So understand the question type. For instance, people confuse between text completion and sentence equivalence. The question, they are kind of similar, okay? But in sentence equivalence, you need to select 2 answer options, okay? But in text completion, you just have to choose 1 answer option per blank, right? So that is something. The next question will be like, do I get just 2 answers for sentence equivalence or can we have more? Right? So these are some of the things which you have to be really clear. Sentence equivalence, it's always 2, neither more nor less, right? And coming back to reading comprehension. Okay, so reading comprehension, you have a passage, you have questions, right? Agreed. How can the questions be? They can be a regular multiple choice. A question, 5 answer options. And then the trickier part comes in. You have that all that applies question type, right? Yes or no? So in this all that applies questions, remember you have to always choose only correct, all and only correct answers. Okay. You get one extra wrong or whatever you've chosen is wrong, then that entire answer goes for a toss. There is no partial scoring in the GRE. Remember that. I don't get a 0.5 or 0.25 for getting a part of the answer correct. Okay? Next thing is develop strategies to tackle every question type. So if I have a sentence equivalence, this is how I'm going to approach it. This is how I'm going to understand the passage and work with the questions. Right? Start building up those strategies. And another thing is, yeah, I'll get back to that in some time. Know your vocabulary. Now, how many words should you people? There is no negative marking, Aditya. Know your vocabulary. Ramya says 1,500. Okay, so is there something like a cap, Ramya, that if you know 1,500, it's enough? Anybody else? Do you have any numbers for the vocabulary? Minimum requirement, okay. See, okay, so if you are planning to get us somewhere between, like a, say, 155 to say on a 165 scale, right? So you should know at least 800 to 1,000 words minimum. Okay, that should do a good job, right? 800 to 1,000. But when I say that, I mean GRE relevant vocab, not just any vocabulary, right? Not just any words. It's not like I open something like a dictionary and they start learning words. It doesn't work that way. We need to know GRE relevant vocabulary. Okay. Now, one way to like familiarize yourself with the language is like read a GRE like passages. Okay, so that you don't get daunted on the day of test by how the passages look. But more than that, I would suggest that you develop a proper strategy to handle the RCs, right? What to look for in the RCs. That's more important than reading GRE like passages. Reading a lot of GRE like passages might not come in handy always, right? Learn to pace. So what if I tell you that GRE is a test of strategies? Okay, so on the day of test, it's not enough to know vocabulary. It's not enough to know how to work with the RC passage. I go there, I know, okay, so my vocabulary skills are good. Let me do text completion, let me complete sentence equivalence, and let me then get back to RCs. Right? So that is the kind of strategy that I need to build. Okay, and along with that, how much time can I spend on every question type? Right? I don't have eternity at hand. Am I right? So decide on how much time you're going to spend on every question, right? And what is your priority there when you're taking the test, right? That will help you to remain calm and take the test. Okay. Now, when it comes to math, one important thing that can be that can hamper your scores is how you read the question. So in a hurry, people read the question, they don't understand what the question is asking for, and they jump into the idea of solving the question. Okay, so that can be detrimental. First, read the question carefully, look for what it is asking, and then start working. Okay. Now, somebody asked me, is a calculator allowed? Yes, use a calculator judiciously. Okay, when you're working on a numeric entry question, there is something called as, transferring the answer into the numeric entry box. Okay, so you have that option in the calculator. You might want to use that then. Okay. And not all the questions will warrant the use of calculator. So you have to, it's going to take time. Remember, it's again your four function calculator that you will see there. Fine. So decide how to use it wisely, when to use it. And learn to effectively plug in numbers when there is a need. Okay, rather than sitting and working on algebra, right? Rather than imagining scenarios, I would suggest that you use plugging in. Okay. Concentrate on chart questions. Now these chart questions come in just before the end of the section, right? There is a chance that you get so engrossed with the chart section that you miss out on the remaining 3 or 4 questions. Have you faced this scenario before? Yes. So remember one thing, the chart questions are going to test you on the same topics like ratio or percentage or averages, right? Only thing is you have to understand, you need to know what data to be picked up from the chart. Okay, so do that carefully, learn to do that carefully. Okay. And look for methods to tackle harder topics, because if you're looking for 160 plus on the math, you should be well versed with topics like probability, permutation, combination, or functions, right? So you need to know how to tackle those questions too carefully. And when it comes to geometry, please draw a diagram so that you can easily visualize the question. If there is one, copy it in your scratch paper and use it. If there is none, try to draw one from your side. Yes. So that is pretty much about the math section, right? So you people are already there. Okay. So if you're aiming for a 320 plus, you might be on a 310, 315. So these are some of the areas where, you will be losing out. Okay, so start looking on those areas, right? Wherever you're lacking, try to fill those. Don't, like keep practicing questions which you're all comfortable with, right? Ujjwal, you're allowed to use a whiteboard. Right time to take. We'll talk about it, Srividya. Just give me a minute. Now, on the test day, these are few things which you have to be really careful about. If you're taking it from the center, reach the center on time. So if they say that you have to be there at 8, I plan to be there at least 7:30, right? You can even visit the center the previous day, know where it is located, right? You don't have to carry these tension at the back of your mind on your test day. That is what we mean. Okay, remember to carry your passport. Okay, and while taking the test, try to do the easy test first. Okay, don't get panicked if you see a harder question, leave it for the end. Try to do the ones which you're familiar with, right? And towards the end, plan to answer all the questions. There is no negative marking. Complete the test. What if your guess goes correct? Yes. And you will get a 10-minute break after the third section. So use that break to relax. Okay. And please leave your mobiles outside, right? Or you'll be given a locker. Leave your mobiles in the locker. Don't look at them even during the break. Jayant, there is no order in which you can choose the sections, okay? You have to accept them as they come. You have options only with choosing the order in which you do the questions. Okay, so this is how your sentence equivalence question will be. Text completion, multiple blank, right? RC questions, you may have shorter RCs or you may have longer RCs. And you may see anywhere between, like 1 to 5 questions per passage. Quantitative comparison math question, right? And this is an all that applies math question. Okay. So now is time for your questions. Tusharjin, there is no Okay, there is no difference between the paper-based and computer-based exam as far as the content or the appearance of the test goes. Okay, everything remains the same. Okay, you're going to say take the same 6 sections. You're going to have breaks in between. All those things remain the same. Trick for remembering vocab. Saurabh, what if I tell you that you have to learn the vocabulary the hard way, right? For remembering, you can use different methodologies. For instance, easy way is to relate it to your real life. Okay, so uh, okay, so just a minute, people. Let me just answer the question by Vikram. Vikram, I think passport is the only acceptable form of ID. Okay, as far as the Indians go. So when should you register? You have to start looking at the availability, Abhitanya. Yes. Maybe you can even register a month or two before. Okay. So just start looking for the availability. Fix a date so that you will also have this enthusiasm to prepare and take the test on that day. Okay. So if it's in September, I think you can start looking from mid-July for the dates. Okay. Right time to take it the 3rd or 4th year. Srividya, I would suggest that you can get it done by the 3rd year, right? So that you can use your 4th year for your profile building. And you have a lot of admission process there, which Vikram had shown, right? So it makes more sense that you take the GRE in the 3rd year. And even if you want to repeat, you have enough time to repeat the test, right? Uh, Not that I'm aware of, Ujjwal. How to manage time with verbal questions? Okay, Saurabh, you have to go with your strengths, right? As far as the verbal goes. So, say your vocabulary is giving you trouble, try to take the RCs first, right? Spend a little more time. More like a 20-10 split up would work for the verbal. Mnemonics will help you retain the words in a for a short period of time, Ujjwal, right? Till you take the exam, it will be useful. So try to learn a way in more than one connotation. That is what we call as mnemonics. Okay, so a word, don't just go with the meaning. See how the word is used, right? How can you relate it to any, like scenario? Okay, what are the synonyms, antonyms? So when you try to learn it in multiple ways, you will be able to recollect it on the test, right? One or the other will work. Uh, so admission questions, can someone take over?
Yes, thank you, Priya. I'll
Yeah,
just
thank you.
jump in for the admissions questions.
Yeah, thank you. Let me just mute myself. Give me 1 second.
No worries. So we have a question here from Maz, and he's asking about PhD and the timelines that need to be considered. So Maz, there are a number of things that you need to do actually to apply successfully for a PhD program. One is to look at the research component that is already there on your resume. And if that's not there, then that's something you need to figure out how to bring onto your resume. A few research papers in peer-reviewed journals would go a long way in making your PhD application competitive. Now, a second thing that you need to do is network with professors at business schools so that they have some interest in bringing you into their institution as a research candidate. And that's a pretty time consuming task. Then, of course, alongside is your GRE, your applications, and everything else. So the timelines to consider are if you can figure out your GRE, your research, your networking with professors by September or October, then you're in a good place to apply over the next few months for different PhD programs in management. So by this September, if everything is in place, then looks like you can be a competitive applicant. Then Srinivas has a question on whether admissions are on for spring 22. Yes, Srinivas, admissions are going on for spring 22, but you should apply as quickly as possible because after the next 75 days, you may not have many options left to apply to. Srinivas has a question. Srinivas has a question here on when he should take GRE for spring admission. So I would say latest by 1st August, or maybe at the absolute outer limit 15th August, because then you'll have to, and you should work on your applications alongside because you will not have many institutions left to apply to after. Then Kota Jayanth has a question for 2022 admissions, Jan Feb. When is the best time to take the test? Pretty much the same. Now, 1st July, 15th July, whenever you're ready, at the outer limit, 1st August or 15th August, absolutely the last opportunity. Keep your applications ready so that as soon as you know what your GRE score is, you can go ahead and apply. So Sri Ramya has a question on whether work experience is considered. For STEM programs or technical programs, relevant work experience is considered. For business programs, all work experience is considered, but you would have to try and talk about leadership, your understanding of working in teams, working across cultures. So the softer skills and the intangibles that you have learned at the workplace, those become equally important. So Bobby has a question. If I want to apply for a master's in 2022, then can I apply in Feb 22? Yes, Bobby, you can, but the admissions for master's in 2022 will start in September. So you will have 20-25% of universities still available in Feb. Most of the competitive institutions would have deadlines by January, so you do miss out on a big chunk of institutions. But there will be options left for you to apply to in Feb 22. If possible, do try to apply earlier because if you apply by January, you get access to a very large number of institutions, typically in their final round or second round of admissions. So Srinivas has a question on whether he can start his application process for spring in the interim. Yes, Srinivas, you can start the application process in the interim. And will Manya assist you? Yes, Manya will assist you. You can get in touch with us at the coordinates mentioned on the screen right now. Meghna is again asking about the right time to write GRE for fall 22. Between now and September or October, uh, the first set of deadlines for master's programs starts in September. So by September, you should have your GRE in place and you should have worked on applications as well if you want to file your applications as soon as your GRE is done. Otherwise, you will have opportunities to apply all the way up to January. So you can pretty much take GRE right to the end of this calendar year if you decide to apply by the January deadlines. So Saurabh has a question. While shortlisting universities, should I consider top 10 of rankings or do you have any other suggestions? So, so Saurabh, yes, rankings is a very good place to start your shortlisting of universities, but that would also depend on what you want to study, where it's available, what specialization you're looking at, where you fit in as an applicant, um, what your budget is, what location you're looking at. So there are a host of other things that you really need to put your mind to, but rankings is sort of a good place to start because that way you at least know what the target or a broad range of target universities could be. Then based on the rest of your criteria, your profile, uh, and everything else, your test scores, your exam results, relevant experience, you can sort of narrow down what the final list of universities should be. Pooja has a question on whether work experience is compulsory for both technical and management admissions. Work experience is definitely required for MBA admissions. Work experience is not compulsory for technical programs. So if you have any relevant work experience, you can try and reflect upon that in your applications or try to show what technical skills you have gained on your resume through that. Pranav has a question on whether countries like Canada also follow semesters like spring or fall. Yes, Pranav, they certainly do. The Canadian education system is very similar to the US, so they definitely have spring and fall semesters. Abhitanya has a question on finishing his undergraduate in studies in 2022 and when is it okay to take the GRE? Yes, September is fine. You will have opportunities to retake the exam all the way up to December if you decide to apply by the January deadlines. Bobby has a question on being an electrical engineer who wants to shift to computer science. What should your resume look like? So, Bobby, obviously, apart from all the computer science related courses, technical projects that you have done at college, your resume should definitely look like it has a lot of learning experiences, a lot of coursework completed within the field of computer science. So if you're still in college, try to take up more computer science related subjects or your technical project. If if you still have an opportunity to choose that, maybe later this year or next year, if you're in third year or going to be in final year soon, so do try to take up as many college courses in computer science, any pending projects that you can possibly take up in computer science, and also try to take up Coursera and Udemy courses in computer science related subjects. Try to do an internship with a software development firm. You should have experience with all the programming languages, some of the elementary testing tools, and you should have an understanding of at least two or three different um, domains of functions within computer science, whether it is Java related, whether it's data science related, whether it's technical tools, if we are talking about uh, big data analytics. So if that's the area you want to get into, then having experience with technical tools such as Big and Hive will help you. If you want to get into artificial intelligence or virtual reality, augmented reality, then learning experiences, programming languages, knowing the basics that you need to code in that field, all of that is going to help you out. So there are a lot of on-demand, live, assessed programs on Coursera, Udemy. Do try to do as many of those as possible so that you can strengthen your CV along with technical projects, internships, um, whatever relevant computer science related experiences you can get, that's really going to help you out. So Pranav has a question. Are applicants too late to pursue MS who have more than 2+ years of work experience? No, Pranav, it's not too late. Uh, you can still go ahead and pursue your master's. You should be able to explain through your application why you want to do a master's at this stage of your career and what the intended learning outcomes are that you are targeting, what courses or what parts of the master's degree cater to those intended learning outcomes. And if you already have relevant experience, then you should also try and show what type of specialization you can get through the master's, which makes it an attractive proposition for you. Nishant Prabhakar has a question on whether it is compulsory to complete my bachelor's to apply for masters in German universities. Not to apply, but definitely before you can proceed to a university in Germany, you need to have completed your bachelor's degree. All your courses need to be cleared. Ojwal has a question on his paper that was presented at an IEEE conference, no longer getting published. So you have to write to IEEE Explore and then figure out if they can help you out. If they can't help you out, do try to find research opportunities under your professors at college. Do try to support their research interests and see if you can help them publish a paper as a co-author, especially in a peer-reviewed journal. That would go a long way in making you a strong applicant for a master's program, especially a thesis-based master's program whenever you're ready. Aditya has a question on GRE being required for Canada. Yes, Aditya, it's required selectively. It depends on your shortlist of universities. Not all universities require it, but some of them definitely require it. So you should actually use the summer period to identify the institutions you wish to study at and then see if GRE is a department or graduate school criteria. Nishant has a question on whether we can apply for university while we are still in the 7th semester. Yes, Nishant, you can. They, uh, they will ask you to share your mark sheets up to the 6th semester or possibly it's the 7th semester as soon as you have it in hand. Saurabh has a question on getting scholarship for fall 22. I hope you have good grades. Try and get a good GRE score and then interact with the professors at the department level to figure out where you get positive feedback from and then apply to those universities. Kota has a question on the possible score for applying for universities. So if you're looking at competitive universities, as I showed you some student profiles who had got admitted, 325 plus for the top institutions and between 315 to 320 for the second tier institutions. Shreyank has a question on whether I will get admission if I have wasted 2 years. I want to pursue my MS now. Yes, you can. You still have 6 months to go before you apply. You have actually maybe, yes, so 6 months is exactly the time still available to try to get a good GRE score. Try to get involved in as many extracurricular profiles as possible so that you can build a good profile over the summer to be a competitive graduate school applicant. Aditya V has a question: how much CGPA is required for scholarships? So Aditya, you should pretty much be in the top 10% of your class. So your CGPA would typically be 8, 8.5, 9, maybe depending on where you're studying. But CGPA is very um, university and institution specific, but you should pretty much be in the top 10% of your class to be considered for scholarships. And you should get very strong recommendations from your professors at your existing college, which highlight your academic potential and your need for scholarship both. Sri Ramya has a question: if we have less GPA, how to make up our profile? So definitely a very high GRE score. If there is a possibility to retake examinations at your current college, then try to retake those exams. Otherwise, look at other certificate programs or other short term academic courses you can take up to build up your profile along with whatever else is relevant to your intended masters. So, Bobby, if you want to get all your doubts cleared, you should ask your center to put you in touch with someone in the admissions team. Shweta Devi has a question: is it possible to get an education loan for studying in Canada without collateral? So you'll have to check, Shweta. We had a webinar last month, um, and that was co-presented by the people from gradright.com. So yes, go on to gradright.com, create your profile, and then they'll put you in touch with different lenders, and you can see if you can qualify for an education loan in Canada without collateral. Praveen Raj has a question on how to convert CGPA out of 10 to GPA out of 4, I guess. So there's no scientific way of doing that. If you have the budget, you can go in for a WES evaluation, and then Wes will do that for you and send you a report. And then that's the most accurate way of doing it, but it's going to cost you over 300 US dollars approximately. Bobby has a question on whether I can get scholarships even in my second year of my master's. Yes, Bobby, if there's a condition attached to the first year academic performance, typically universities say that if you get a 3 on a scale of 4 GPA, you are able to maintain your scholarship for the second year as well. Yes, Udemy courses, Ramya's question, Udemy courses are valid to put on your profile. They are not a substitute for a college degree, but they certainly highlight that you have relevant learning experience and a certificate of clearance, which makes a in those specific courses, which makes a good impact to the university to which you are applying. So Srinivas, please log on to gradright.com, GRADRIGHT, gradright.com to create your financial profile and get in touch with lenders. Ritvik has a question on percentage of seats being reserved for overseas students. So typically technical programs don't have any seats reserved for overseas students. Management programs do have about 50% international students in their classroom. Sri Ramya's question on how much we have to get in the GRE, the higher the better, obviously, 325 and above for a top 25 university in the US and 315 and above for other universities. TOEFL 100 plus is the score you should target, even though 79 is the minimum score required at second tier universities. However, since you now have the luxury of preparation, you should try and get a 100 plus TOEFL score. If nothing else, it improves your chances of getting scholarship, chances of getting teaching assistantships because you have the verbal ability that always goes on to make a good impression. And so, Priya, I think that's pretty much all the admissions related questions. Um,
Thanks, Vikram. There's one final question. So, thank you, people, for an interactive session. Thanks, Vikram, for that really informative.
Thank you,
Right?
Priya.
And so I guess we can wrap with this, people. We do have our details on the screen, right? The toll-free number and the email ID. So whatever queries you have, you can get back to us, or you can reach out to the website and get more information. Yes? Thank you.